Every August, we spend a lot of time preparing our children for school. There are supply lists, there is the tearing apart of the closets and the dressers to make sure that the clothes that fit last year still fit this year. There are supplies that we are buying, there are sports gear that we are providing, there are schedules and transportation and all of these things that consume the end of July through August for most of us, as we are working very hard to get structure around our children so that they can be successful for the next school year. The next school year represents the next growth opportunity for our children, and it comes in bite-sized chunks. We have broken up the childhood growth process into school levels, whether that is first grade, second grade, third grade, all the way through college. We have broken everything into specific steps. So when someone asks our children, what grade are you in? When they say third grade, we have a picture in our mind of exactly what they should know at this time period, what kind of classes that they should be taking, and we are able to engage with them at a developmentally appropriate level because we have structures in place that we as a society understand. We as a society are also so good about preparing for school, and it just kind of feels like it is a part of our life cycle rhythm that every year this is what we are doing, because it is something that is right there in front of us, it is clearly laid out, and it has expected milestones that we are helping our children to have. Preparation can include very detailed instructions. For instance, this year, my son's teacher, he's going into 6th grade, actually outlined what color binders, what size binders, the dividers that need to go into said binders, and the order in which they need to be labeled, all before the first day of school. That in level of detail makes my life actually a whole lot easier because I know exactly what is expected of me as the parent, and I know what's expected of my child so that he can show up and feel prepared and know that he is not going to be spending time scrambling during class trying to put together a binder that's the wrong color and makes him different from everybody else. That kind of preparation just fits into who we are and just is a part of what we do every fall, which is why there are so many back to school sales. We all know it's going to be expensive. We all know that we are going to be expected to buy a lot of supplies and things for our children, but we also have prepared for it. It's not just that we've prepared for it, it is that it is a part of the rhythm of our lives. We know as school ends that we are going to be ramping back up at the end of July and August if we want to be prepared, so that we can make sure that our children have everything that they need to show up ready to learn, where we have removed all of the barriers. They're not sitting in uncomfortable tight pants from last year. Their shirts fit. They look presentable. They have possibly a new haircut and a new pair of shoes that don't have holes in them. All of these things remove the barriers from our children and allow education to be the main focus for them as they are moving forward through the year. However, when we look at the other end of aging, the aging adult life cycle, so I'm talking retirement forward, we do not have the equivalent for that. We know exactly what our children need to be successful, and we are truly winging it on the other end. When people retire, they enter the only phase of life that doesn't have a defined structure of how things should go from a societal perspective. Again, like we talked about earlier, if I am talking to a third grader, I know exactly what developmental milestones they should be meeting, things that they possibly are reading in school, and the things that they're learning about. Whereas if I talk to an aging adult, I have no idea where they are, because you can be in a whole bunch of different aging phases at different ages, and it's not tied to anything specific. That also means that we are not setting up the aging population for success in their aging journey. When you are dropped off at retirement, the freedom feels fantastic. It's the first time in your life you haven't had somebody telling you where to be, when to be there, how to dress, and that creates a lot of freedom. However, after a couple of years, when your body starts hurting more, it can actually cause anxiety and fear. And we've talked about that before, of this elephant in the room where adults feel anxious about what comes next, and they don't want to talk about it because they're afraid of adding more on to you. There are a couple of emotions that are involved in this decision to not have these conversations. I think fear is number one. I really do. We as the sandwich generation have different fears than our aging parents have. Our fears are, I can't add one more thing, and they should be taking care of business. They should have structure. They should be telling me if they need help, because I can't mentally prepare and have all of the capacity to hold on to their life in the same way that I'm holding on to my children's life and my life. That 3-generation stack feels incredibly heavy, and so we avoid it. On the other end, for our parents, that fear is what comes next and what does that look like? We as a society have done a very poor job of really connecting with what it is like to unravel a life. How do we take apart the autonomy that we've had our whole life? How do we still honor the life that you've had? How do we make sure that you feel like you are still in control for as long as you can? Let's actually go back to the analogy with our children, or the discussion about our children. When we create a plan around the next 9 months for them, where we have created space for them to be successful in the education sphere, what happens is that we are kind of able to set it and forget it. We put it over here. We don't worry about it while we're at work because our kids are safe. We have bought everything that is necessary for their school year, and they have structure around them that keeps them safe for the most part, and they have adults in their life that are able to guide them as they are there. So it is a set it and forget it kind of a thing. We then are able to take that mental space that would be normally taken up by worrying and focus on our own career. The sandwich generation is smack dab in the middle of their working career. And that means that you need to have a lot of mental capacity to be able to do the job that you have been hired to do. There is growth opportunities. At this phase, you're looking at possible promotions that require you to work 70, 80 hours a week. And the set it and forget it structure that you created around your children allows you to be able to do so. While there's still conflicts with picking up kids and games and how do I make this meeting, or do I go to my kid's baseball game, those are tweaks. We are just adjusting a little bit for things that need to be adjusted in real time. We couldn't have anticipated that in August. We couldn't have maybe prepared for that, but we're making minor tweaks. When we do not have that same structure for our parents, that mental load continues to sit on us because it is not a set it and forget it. It is a looming crisis that you know is coming, but you don't have the structure to hold you so that you can focus on your career and only have to make minor tweaks when something comes up. Instead, you're taking on the unpredictability of the aging journey in full force without anything that you can set and forget. As we are discussing the weight of that responsibility, it's an important thing that we pause and talk about the default person or the default child. We see this show up in our house in a very unique way. I leave the house to go to work. My husband has worked from home since we got married almost 16 years ago now. That means that he is the default person in our family. It is very hard when you work from home and you have in-laws that live here and you have young people here. Anybody who has any type of question doesn't call mom. They don't text mom, who is someplace else. Instead, they are seeking FaceTime with the human that is here. That is how a default person comes to be the default person. Whether it is you work from home, maybe you only have to have a single income household and you are able to be the stay-at-home parent, or perhaps you have a physical condition where you are literally unable to work. That person becomes the person who ends up absorbing the entirety of the strain and stress of a lack of system. What we don't recognize on a conscious level is that weight of the lack of system, like we have for our children, the set it and forget it. When we have that unpredictability of at any moment something can happen, I think we see this some in our type 1 diabetic 12-year-old. He has very unpredictable blood sugars, and sometimes overnight they can go really low or they can go really high. And what happens is that we have an app that follows his blood sugar, and so there can be out of nowhere these alarms that come out in the middle of the night and kind of sound like a foghorn, but that wake you up and jolt you awake so that you can go and address his blood sugar. Love it. It keeps my child alive. However, that unpredictability of, I don't know when this is going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to sleep through the night. I don't know that there is a solid system in place for this specific disease process, but I know that it could happen at any time. So I always have that tab in my head open, the diabetes tab. The what is the blood sugar? Can we leave the house? Did we remember enough juice? Do we have enough protein with us? When was the last time he ate? It's this constant running conversation that I can't let go, which is a weight that is on me in every meeting that I am in, every time I touch a patient. It is always running in the background. That's what I'm talking about not having a solid structure around the aging part of your parents. Whether or not you are conscious that you are constantly thinking about diabetes, it is actively decreasing your mental capacity because you have a tab open. The more things that you have that leave tabs open in your brain, the less mental capacity you have to do the job that you are currently doing. And that increases your stress because you're not able to switch between tabs as quickly as you think you are. Research supports that. We are not able to multitask as well as we think we can. In fact, it decreases our capacity in many areas. There are areas in your life that you are not going to be able to close that tab. I will probably never be able to close the diabetes tab because I love my kid and I know that this is a life-changing diagnosis. However, there are other tabs that we can close. Some of them are with our aging parents. When we create structure, just like we have for our kids, we can become set it and forget it people, where we know that there is a system running in the background that is walking them through the appropriate age level developmental milestones. You have given them all the supplies that they need to be able to be successful, and you are able to maybe minimize that tab versus keeping it open as a side window with everything else that you are doing. So being able to decrease that mental load makes a significant difference on your cognitive ability in the things that really matter right now. Your parents might not need your help, but it's still running in the background. You have things prepared so that you're only making those minor tweaks versus big, wide sweeping changes that come in the middle of the most important presentation you have of your entire life. We prepare for our kids to go to school because we love them. We want them to be successful. We want to take away all the barriers that could possibly interfere with them being able to learn what they need to learn and pass this developmental milestone. The same is true for our parents. If we are setting them up and we are giving them the tools and structure that they need to age gracefully and with as much independence as possible, we are doing it because we love them. It is not a taking over. It is just helping to support the other end of the life cycle in a way that honors them as human beings. So the question isn't, how do I take care of my aging parents? The question really truly is, how do I set up structure so that they can be as successful for the next developmental milestone as I do for my kids, so that they can be successful in school every year.